Hello and welcome to this episode of Essex by the Sea. I'm Owen Ward, exploring the Essex coast, finding out about the amazing and interesting stories it has to offer. Don't forget to subscribe on your favourite podcast app if you like what you hear, and tell your friends all about Essex by the Sea too. Now picture the scene. You're perhaps walking along the coastline of Essex and come across a seal or a seal pup that looks like it could do with some help. So who are you going to call? Well, it's certainly not Ghostbusters, that's for sure. Barry and Rachel, perhaps, are the people you'd call, as they volunteer with the British Divers Marine Life Rescue. And they join me for this episode of Essex by the Sea. Hello to you both.
Hi.
So, first of all, I mean, how did you end up volunteering for the organisation that goes out and looks after animals?
We were visiting Frinton one weekend, and just as we was heading along the coast, I saw something coming out the water and was, oh, what's that? And I was like, oh, it's a seal. How lovely. And then shortly after, we realised it was quite badly injured, had some cuts to its back flippers. And we were speaking to the beach patrol and working with them to try and get someone to come out and look at it. And at the time, we didn't know about British Divers Marine Life Rescue. So we were calling wildlife rescues or RSPCA and being given quite substantial times, because obviously all these groups are very busy with other things. And the beach patrol sort of took it from there and said we should head on our way, and they'll wait. But at times it was estimated to be about 4 hours before everyone get there. And this is a busy sort of June, July in Frinton with people everywhere and dogs, and it wasn't going to be left alone. And we were struggling to keep people back when we was there trying to help. So later on, we found out about British Divers Marine Life Rescue and decided to do one of their training courses as we was looking to move out here.
So actually, it was a seal that you came across, exactly that, as you were walking along the seafront, and it needed the help. So are there many volunteers around the tendering coast like yourself that help?
Few regulars when we do trips out, but I think across the country there's the number 3,000 or so is coming to mind. So
wow,
I think there's a fair few across the UK.
And how long have you been volunteering for?
For about a year, because we moved here last February. So we did the course just before we moved, didn't we?
It might have been sort of October, November.
Yeah, October, November time. But obviously we didn't live near the sea then, so we didn't really get called out at that time. But then, yeah, since we moved here, we've been volunteering. So it's been about a year, and I think we've had about 8 seals or so in that time.
Yeah, oh, okay, so there's quite a few then. I mean, are seals really common around the coastline by where you are?
So where we are, just behind Walton, there's an area called Hampford Waters, or the Walton Backwaters. And there's a place down there which has got a colony of both common or harbour seals and grey seals. I think it's one of the only places where they're quite commonly mixed together. But yes, there's a reasonably large colony there. So the ones we're seeing are little ones that have maybe got washed away in a storm or got separated from their parents in a storm or something like that.
You mentioned the two types. Are they just the two types then that we'd find around the Essex coast, or are there others?
We do have sort of other species that visit our waters, but the only ones I've ever seen we've seen are common and harbour and the grey seal, so those two.
And are they easily identifiable? You know, if I was perhaps sitting in my deck chair at Walton on the Naze, or perhaps along the coast at Frinton, sort of looking out, and sort of I spotted a head bobbing up in the waves, or perhaps even one venturing onto the beach, would I be able to tell the difference between the two?
So it does depend kind of what age they're at. Sometimes we get a few and you can't really tell that easily until you get up close. But as a general rule, I like to think of it as grey seals look like dogs, don't they? And common seals look like cats. So there are differences. The common seals are a bit smaller as well, aren't they, Barry?
Yeah.
And I think there's also a difference in their noses as well, but you have to get up quite close to be able to see that. You would be able to tell the difference, I would say, apart from perhaps if they're smaller ones,
greys.
Smaller female greys. it can sometimes be hard to tell whether that's a grey or a common.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the male greys are quite easily, if they're quite a lot bigger, but also they have sort of a Roman nose, whereas the common or harbour have more of a I don't know, dips a bit, isn't it? It's more like a cat-like face.
So I'm guessing then, with the seal population around the Essex coast, are there certain times of year where we're more likely to see the seals, perhaps up on the coastline and sort of in the backwaters?
In kind of September time, we saw quite a lot of common seal pups. So this is more so where they've come away from the backwaters and they've come up onto the beaches around here. And that's where we've been called out to rescue them because they're perhaps a little bit too young to be without their mum. And around January time was when we started to see more grey seal pups. But I would think if you were to go to the backwaters, you'd just be able to see them any time of year, wouldn't you?
Yeah, we've kayaked out there a few times, and they're quite common in the backwaters, but less so at the seafront. Sometimes you'll see an adult in the sea just having a look and see what everyone's up to, but generally when they come up on the beach, it's either little ones that are got separated, or it can just be an adult that's very tired. They go on the beaches to just rest and digest their food. It's quite normal for them to do that, so sometimes we just have to go and check and make sure they're healthy and well, and they're just there resting rather than they're injured or in trouble.
What is it that you get out of volunteering then for the British Divers Marine Life Rescue? You know, what do you feel once you've managed to help a seal pup that's needed help? How does that make you feel?
Very rewarding, especially if we've taken a seal that needed medical attention or rehabilitation, and then especially when you get to see how they're doing, if you get an update from the rescue centre that they've gone to. So that's very rewarding. And it's also nice to be able to help people as well, because quite often when there's a seal, it's been found by a member of the public and they're not quite sure what to do and they're a bit concerned.
Sometimes getting far too close to what is a wild animal, but unfortunately they look quite cute, so people will walk up with their toddlers or small children to the seals and get very close, and they don't seem to realise they've got a very nasty bite and it can become quite infected. So our first job is normally just to try and get the public back for their safety, but also for the stress it causes the seal as well.
Yeah, so it's nice to be able to get out there and kind of educate people as well, and people are usually very grateful, aren't they?
Normally lots of questions, and they're very interested, and it's normally quite nice to speak to people about it when we've got time. Sometimes people are asking questions and we've got to get the seal gone, so we're sort of, very sorry, but we've got to go. But if you check on this website, they'll be able to give you some more details.
You mentioned something there that about obviously if it needs to go into a centre. I'm just trying to think whether there are any centres in Essex. So where would you take a seal if it needed to be taken for perhaps medical treatment?
Depends on the seal and just the current situation. So we've got the awesome South Essex Wildlife Hospital, which is near sort of South Ockenden, Brentwood, somewhere like that. The Google Maps takes me there, but so they've got a small amount of space, but they can only have the seals when they're quite young. They haven't got any pools or anything, so they'll sometimes take them. The vets there are very good, and the nurses, and they've also had volunteers. They'll deal with any wounds or injuries, maybe give them fluids and food and things like that. And they've got some pens that the BDMLR and them have sort of built, which can hold them temporarily. But once they get to a certain size, they need to have access to pools and things like that. So that's when they'll move on somewhere like RSPCA East Winch. There's Malidams and there's a few others, but those are sort of the closer ones to us, sort of Norfolk and Kent based. But the South Essex Wildlife Hospital is fundraising at the moment to actually build a facility. So we'd have somewhere more local for our seals to go for rest, recuperation and treatment.
I was going to say, the South Essex wildlife hospital. I mean, that's a good hour's drive from the likes of Harwich or Clacton area. So that's quite a journey. And I'm just
Be
thinking
quite a
after that.
smelly journey as well sometimes with the seal in the back, because if you've ever stood too near a fishmonger's, it's kind of that, and on a warm day it can be a bit overpowering in the car.
Yeah, make sure the windows are open. Even longer journeys then to Norfolk or down into Kent. That must be quite a quite a journey.
Yeah, we've got a lot of medics, which some of them aren't that near the coast, and they're very, very good at helping out with relays. Sometimes we've also got a group in Ipswich, and there's a lady there who can help with administering water and things like that. So if we can't get it to a vet straight away, or to Onward Rescue, sometimes they'll go there as well, and then they'll organise onward transport to somewhere. And basically, they just have to fatten them up for a few months, get them nice and healthy, and then give them a nice release day, which is lovely to watch on the on the videos they share.
And are there other animals that you help along the coast?
We did get a call out to a leatherback turtle in Malden, and we was on our way there to see it, but then we got called and told by the Coast Guard that it was in a very awkward place to get to, and it was they were quite certain it was dead, so it was going to be removed the next day. I think it's a few 100 kilos and about 6 or 7 foot long or something like that. So we got called to that, but we didn't attend in the end. Some places
there have been some whales and porpoises as well along the Clacton area, but they've not been alive, so we didn't attend those ones, did we?
Well, I think a few of the whale in Clacton, I didn't even get the phone call.
No.
But I think that was just there's the cetacean. I'm going to kick myself for not knowing it, but they do research on stranded cetaceans, as in whales and things like that. So they'll come out and check on them, and sometimes do an autopsy.
Yes, of course, because there was a whale that beached, wasn't there, just off of Clacton during the summer of 2020. And I'm just thinking further back, there were, I think, were they? I mean, I could be getting the wrong animals totally here, but dolphins or some kind of marine animals that were found in the Thames.
Whale in the Thames recently. I can't remember the breed now off the top of my head.
There was a beluga whale.
There was
one
point.
That was the one, yes, just off of Tilbury and Gravesend, yeah.
So we do have training, and we have there's not ourselves personally, but we can call for special equipment, which we did borrow for a Halloween display. But there's these pontoons that you can use to help refloat up to a pilot whale size, but dolphins and pilot whales can be refloated if they're deemed healthy enough. So that's some of the equipment they've got. They're also trying to raise funds at the moment because they need special like mud platforms inflatable platforms to be able to get to animals sometimes that are in like Thames or other estuaries that are mud. So that's one of the current fundraisers to get that equipment, and then get some of our people who have been medics for a while trained up to use it.
That's brilliant. If people want to donate to the fundraising effort, is there a website people can go to?
Yep. So for the Essex group that are trying to get these funds to get the platforms for estuary rescue, they've got justgiving.com/campaign/BDMLR Essex.
Well, we'll put the website address into the description of this episode. So if someone was to walk along the Essex coast on quite a nice day, or perhaps even not such a nice day, and they were to find an animal that perhaps needed some help, what should they actually do?
Best thing to do is to call the British Divers Marine Life Rescue. That will route them through to a local call centre who will be able to contact volunteer medics. And they'll be able to go out and check on the animal, and it may just need observation to check it's healthy and okay. And especially with seals, they rest on the beaches a lot. People just need to make sure they stay clear and keep dogs and children away as well for their safety, and also so the animals aren't stressed out. And then the medics will seek further advice if they need it. If the animal's injured, it may have to go to a vets or to a rescue centre.
I see. Well, Barry, Rachel, keep up the good work and the volunteering for the British Divers Marine Life Rescue. I noticed divers is in the title. Do you actually ever go diving?
We don't, but a lot of people that are involved are divers, and I think that's how it originally come about as well. So obviously a lot of them have already got things like dry suits and things like that, so they're quite well equipped to start off with. And it shows in some of our equipment as well. A lot of our equipment uses dive bottles to inflate the pontoons and things like that.
Well, both of you, thank you ever so much for joining me on this episode of Essex by the Sea.
Thank you.
No problem. Thank you.
Don't forget to subscribe in the same place as you found this episode. A new episode drops on the 1st and the 15th of each month. So until next time, thanks for listening.